All right. Well, welcome everybody. I am Nancy Peterson. This is,
Clark Peterson.
and I lost 45 pounds. Let's see, it's been almost 5.5 years ago. And
I lost 70 pounds in it 5 years ago, and amazing. I just did a new post this today, a picture of myself in 2016, and a picture of today, October to October.
it doesn't look like the same
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
And you feel so much better.
Oh, I have. I can
So,
even. I can drive and not get tired. So.
yeah, yeah. So tonight, what we do is we go over all of the elements that Dr. Anderson wrote. And they're so important because it's not only very tangible things of what kind of nutrition to take in, hydration, but he also talks about mindset. And so much of it is really basically, I hate to say it, but up in your head. So this is to me a very important element that we're talking about. And if you have your life book, it's element 4. We did the first half of it last week and we're going to finish it up this week. So we're going to do a quick little review of what we talked about last week, a little bit of it. And so one of the things we spoke about last week was the drama triangle.
Yeah, the drama triangle. That's in a nice summary. We're just going to go over that quickly. And there's three elements to a drama triangle, and it's the victim, the hero, and the villain. And when we're operating those mentalities or thought life or mindsets, we are we are doing what they call living below the line. But for instance, victim would say it's not fair and life has been done to me, that these things happen to me and they're out of my control. So that would be a victim.
Okay, so can I just say something real
Yes.
quick? So this is one that we've all used.
Uh-huh.
We've all used. I've used it in certain ways, but just to relate it to eating, how many times do we get hit with life circumstances? And that's happened to me, and you end up kind of reverting back to your old habits, right? So having the mindset that you do not have to go there and given the tools to avoid going there, and to replace it with something that's going to support what you're doing will be very helpful.
And that could be as simple as, like, I went to visit my family, and they had all this carb centered food, and I just had to eat it. You know,
Yeah, it could be that simple, or
could be
it
that
could
simple,
it could
something
be
really
very,
serious.
right, really drastic.
Yeah.
So,
So that's a victim. And the second one is a hero. And a hero says that I'm here to save the day, like a Superman, put on a Superman cape, and I'm enabling victims. So you become the hero of everyone else's life. And that's the hero. And the third one is a villain. And this one gets,
no, I think that's, oh yeah, you're right. Go
it,
ahead.
it is
Yeah,
villain.
yeah, you're right.
One, two, three, villain. And villain is it's someone who says, when we get up in our head to talk about who's at fault about what happened and why I ate what I ate. And then we find who's at fault, and then we blame them, and then excuse ourselves from any responsibility from eating the pint of ice cream in
Mhm.
front of the TV. So that would be victim, hero, and villain. And that's the drama triangle from last week.
And it kind of tags uh, right against the very first question we asked you last week, which is whose responsibility is your health? Who is responsible for your health? And of course, everybody last week said, me, we're responsible for our own health. So when you get hung up in the drama triangle, it can derail you. And we're only talking about this to make you aware of it. Okay. We all have played either a victim, a hero, a villain, all three, sometimes a combination thereof. And so it's not a judgment thing. It is just that now when we find ourselves moving in that direction, we can say, wait a minute, that's not where I want to go.
It kind of awakens us
Yeah.
to what's going on. It awakens us to our ability to
Mhm.
take control of our health.
Mhm.
So the next one, then today, we're going to go to a positive, the positive end of this, and this is called the empowerment triangle. What's the empowerment triangle?
Yeah.
See?
So the empowerment triangle is made up of three things too, or three roles, people. One is the creator. So when you're the creator, what you're basically saying is, I am creating a new story and I am in charge of what happens. So you can see how that supports that original question of who is responsible for your health. Well, it's you. So when you're the creator, you're like, no, I can create it to be different than it was.
Yeah, it's like you have choices.
Right,
And
right.
you're not a victim, you're not a hero, and you're not a villain. And the second one is the coach. The first one is creator, the second one's a coach. And that means I help others get better and I empower others to be successful. Why is that so important, Nancy?
Why is that so?
Well, that's important because then we're not the hero.
Well, I like it because what it does is it takes the focus off of you.
Yes,
So what you're doing then is, you're helping someone else, and that in itself can encourage you.
it really does.
Mhm.
And when you can, I really like how you said it takes your eyes off of you. What happens is if as you learn to get healthy and you help others get healthy, it really helps you stay healthier. So
It's one of the reasons that being a coach, it's one of the many benefits of being a coach, is that because we're helping others, it actually helps us with our own health.
yeah, yeah. And a coach really their job is to pull the best out of somebody,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
Um, so help pull the best. And the third one is a challenger. A challenger says this, I am open and curious to learn. So, and a challenger also, this is a tough one. I think this is a tough one to learn, but the obstacle I'm facing helps me get better. Now I think for me, sometimes that's just hard to get my hands wrapped around it
Or your head.
and my head, my hands, or anything else wrapped around the understanding that this obstacle that I'm facing, how big it is or how small it is, helps me to get better.
Well, I think our normal reaction to an obstacle is you resist it because it's not a good thing, right? You think, I don't want to be in whatever this situation is. It's an obstacle. It's
It
a
is.
challenge, right? So when we change our mindset to say, okay, we have this obstacle in front of us, let's lean into it. Because really, what happens is when you lean into a problem, what it does is it helps you to learn to grow through that. And what it will do is it will increase your confidence too.
So the empowerment triangle really it helps us to understand that we need to be our own chief advocate for our journey.
Yes, yes, exactly.
That we
So if you notice you're in a drama triangle where you feel like life's coming at you and not for your benefit, that that something happened to you, right? And you feel like a victim, you need to stop there, right? Stop there because where you want to be is the empowerment triangle, not in that drama triangle. So how do you do that, Clark?
Well, one of the things that Dr. A brings up, and I really like this phrase, he says, make regular trips to the mental gymnasium. So it's all up in here, really. I know we're trying to get our bodies at a good weight and our
But it's all
goal,
connected.
but
It's all
it's
connected.
really up in here because if we don't change this along the way, if we don't make adjustments and go to the mental gymnasium and make some adjustments and do some stretching and working out and making our mental capacities stronger, we're going to just end up back in the same place that we wanted to get out of.
And this is a way he states it that really resonated with me. What he says is that um, our great intentions wilt when life gets in the way. So when the obstacle happens, our great intentions can wilt. So that's where we need to just be very conscious about what's going on in our brain. And then he gives us a way to deal with that.
Yeah, and when those great intentions wilt, when life gets in the way, then we react in ways that aren't good for us.
Yeah.
We end
Yeah.
up we end up making choices that we don't want to make, that we'd rather not make, that we want to get away from. And so that's why I think this empowerment triangle is so effective and so powerful. It's a great map to look at.
Mhm,
It's a great visual for us to put our eyes on consistently.
mhm.
And on page 113, Nancy, let's talk about what he talks about on page 113.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay. So he talks about 113 that sometimes that we react, and then that we something happens, a tragedy, a situation, emotion happens, and we immediately react, and we don't allow ourselves to get to that place in our head where we can make a choice.
Yeah. So he calls it the lizard brain. So basically, if a lizard, if you went after a lizard, right, it would jump and run. Okay. It doesn't wait and think, oh, is this really, what's going on here, whatever. It's just a reaction. And what Dr. Anderson's saying is we need to grow out of that reaction. So let's get an example. Okay, just a practical example. So when I was losing my weight, if something happened, like say I had a very bad disagreement with someone or whatever, and that kind of thing bothers you, right? Or maybe you had a bad day at work. Okay. My reaction to that might have been a half gallon of ice cream in front of the TV. See, I didn't ever take it like, okay, wait a minute. I'm upset about this thing. Let's see what I can learn from it. No, it was like there was a reaction. And the thing with that is, and we talked about this a couple of chapters ago, is, are you after instant gratification with something that lasts maybe 5 minutes while you're eating it or 10 minutes even? And then, of course, later you feel bad? Or are you after long-term results or satisfaction is the word? Because even though you might think you feel satisfied having that ice cream right then, later on you won't. However, when you stop, you make a better choice, you will have that long-term satisfaction.
So what Dr. A emphasizes in this second part of this chapter is that there's really space between what I'm facing and the choice I can make. And when we operate in that lizard place, we don't think that there's a space. We don't think that there's a choice.
We just react.
We just react, and then
Sure.
and we don't get it to from all of our emotions to through up into our minds so that we can think it through. So he talks about that space between the stimulus and the response.
Yeah.
And in that space, he says that we're supposed to take a break and then say what's the
Okay, well, but he talks about two other levels, right?
well, there's the breath.
So so the lizard kind of reacts.
Oh yeah, then there's the
But then there's the Labrador, which is basically the next level, which what happens is you don't just react, but you start to realize what the feelings are, and then you react to that. Okay. So it's not an immediate thing. It comes up and then you do something, right? And what he's calling us to do is to go up to what he calls the human brain, which is basically, this is what you're talking
Yes.
about, is you have to create a pause. And how you create that pause. So when life hits you, whatever it is, instead of reacting, or reacting to feelings, you want to go to the human brain. And so you can see how that pause comes in handy, right? You want to come out of that reactionary part and go to the brain that
The
says,
thinking.
the thinking that says, okay, stop. Well, let's see how we're going to handle this situation, how we're going to react. And we're not only talking about food, guys. We're not just talking about food.
No, we can talk about other areas of our life. We can talk about spiritual things. We can talk about relationships. We can talk about money, all that's, but it's finding that space.
Have you ever had someone said something to you and you were like you wanted to just immediately, and maybe you did. We all have said something and later on went, why did I say that? Right?
Right. So Dr. A talks about one on page 114, he called it how to break the stimulus response. To immediately, I have to react to the stimulus that's around me and bring it to a place of thinking. So it's learning how to break that.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Well, this is actually a trademark. He talks about taking a breath and stopping. It's called stop. It's challenge and choose. It's all about becoming aware in the moment of what's going on emotionally, also in our environment around us, any event that's taking place, and it's a choosing to delay
Mhm.
those situations.
And delay the reaction to that.
Yeah.
So that it's not a reaction, but it's a response.
Yes.
And that you have control over what that response is. He shared a story one time, Dr. Anderson, that when he was in this very difficult meeting with some other executives and things were being said, and his lizard brain wanted to just jump out and say something. What he did is he had a bottle of water, and what he trained himself to do is he would just take a drink of water until he could bring his thoughts to an above the line, staying open and curious about what's going on versus just reacting with something said. And he said he would just, even if he had to drink the water a couple of times before he responded. So it's the same idea, is that I had a tough day. I'm not going to just automatically react. I'm going to think, I'm going to stop. And even though initially I thought, well, maybe I wanted to stop by the donut shop or whatever, I stop. I say, okay, I'm challenging myself. If I do that, this is what would happen. If I don't do that, this is what will happen. Do I want short-term pleasure, or do I want long-term satisfaction? And then it goes to your human brain. You make a decision. You make a decision.
And what this really does, Nancy, is it puts us back in charge
Yes.
of the situation.
Yes. Yes.
We're no longer a victim of our circumstances. We don't become a villain. We don't become a hero. It
Mhm.
puts us back in charge, back in the driver's seat of our
Yeah.
health, and
Yeah.
it empowers us to
Yeah,
change.
I don't know about all of you, but I know before I started this program that I felt like food really ruled me. So it was so reactionary, that if something happened, my comfort was to eat something, usually high sugar, high carbs, but I never felt good after it. So learning this process of stopping and really challenging yourself to say, okay, what is it I really want? If I do that, what's going to happen? That has been a huge benefit in not only in eating, but in lots of things.
Right, and it
Yeah.
really connects us back to our why. All this connects us all the way back to why we're doing this.
Mhm.
I have, I talked to a client today that says, I don't know if my why is strong enough, and they began to tell me what their why was, And I said, if it's powerful for you, then it's powerful for you. If it's the thing that keeps you from going to continue to make good choices in health, then great. If that why helps us get to this space of stop, challenge, and choose, and stop, challenge, and choose takes us back to that why.
Right.
It's really good.
Exactly. Exactly. So Dr. Anderson also at the end of the chapter talks a little bit about conscious breathing. You want
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about
Well,
that?
it's really talking about how your body in stressful times can get all tight and it can get all anxious, and our breathing level becomes short versus stopping and taking deep breaths. And when we take deep breaths, oxygen gets into our bodies and into our minds, and we have clearer thought. And so he talks about being conscious of and conscientious about how we are breathing in the situation.
Mhm.
And it's very important. And it's not even weird to talk about. It really happens. Our breathing changes, our attitude changes, and so if we can stop and we can take a deep breath and regain our thinking brain.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've experienced this where you're anxious about something or worried, really worried about something, and you'll notice that your breathing is shallow,
Mhm.
which isn't good for your body. Okay, just isn't good for your body. So if we can just consciously realize this is what's going on and then make a point to do some deep breathing. I was at the gym today, and that's one of the things they talk about. So I was working out, and the trainer said to me, breathe. And he wanted to be very systematically, okay, when you're doing this, you're going to breathe slowly in and very deeply. And when you push this thing out, you're going to breathe out. So having that right amount of oxygen in, because think about it, I mean, exercise is stressful on your body, right? And other things emotionally stressful. It's kind of the same situation in that the breathing helps. So that's something else to pay attention to. If you find your shoulders getting a little tight, you're in a stressful situation, stop, challenge yourself to relax and just to breathe and to breathe deeply and slowly. That is going to actually give you the oxygen your body needs, and it's going to put you in a less stressful state in your body.
Yeah. And so all this brings us back to understanding that we can live above the line, that we are in control of our own health, that we can make choices even when it doesn't seem like we can, and that there's these steps help create spaces of choice,
Mhm.
and so that we're not victims, we're not villains, and we're not heroes, but we are empowered to as creators, as coaches, and as challengers. So be empowered this week. Look for places where maybe in the past you were part of the drama triangle, but this week you're going to be a part of the empowerment triangle. Look for spaces where you can do that. And I'd like to hear those stories next week.
Sounds good.
Sounds
All
good.
right, so we will be posting, and you can find a lot of the elements we've already done on YouTube channel. It's under Nancy and Clark Peterson, and you'll see the elements that have been recorded so far are up there. So please feel free to listen to some of them. These are the tools that are going to help you keep the weight off for good. Because you can lose weight a lot of ways, but here's what we want to do is we want to keep it off. And we want to sustain a healthy lifestyle. And these are the changes you'll be able to make by learning these habits and practicing them that are going to give you lifelong transformation. And this is what we know. We know you can do it
Yes,
because trust me, if we could do it, you can do it. So So we will see you all next week, and we hope you guys have a great week.
Good to see you. Congratulations for being a part of this tonight.